welcome to Fresh Thinking by Snowden Optiro. My name is Susan Havlin, Managing Consultant at Snowden Optiro. Today we're talking about the common misconceptions concerning resource estimation. I'm joined by Jane Levett, who's a Principal Consultant here at Snowden Optiro. Jane has extensive experience in mineral resource estimation. Welcome, Jane.
Thank you, Susan.
So the first topic I want to talk about is a topic I know you love. So geological domaining. Do you think we could just scrap any sort of domaining and let's just use geostats?
Unfortunately, no. Domaining's absolutely key to any mineral resource estimation, and there needs to be a link between your domaining or your geological interpretation and your geostatistical investigation. So if your geostats don't tell you the right answers, you need to go back to your domaining and revise your interpretation.
So you're saying we shouldn't just go, I'm going to look at above 0.5 grams per tonne gold and just do my domain that way? What are you saying? Should we do, what do we look at? The geology, lithology, structure?
Absolutely, all of those things. Grade shells are a great start and they can provide you with some inspiration, but you do need to really understand what environment you're in, what are your main controls on mineralisation, and incorporate those into your interpretation.
Right. So what you're saying is there should be a good combination of initially your geological domaining and then your geostatistical assessment should confirm those domains.
Absolutely, yes.
And so what if we come against them not confirming those domains?
That's really tricky. There are other processes that you can use, but I think sort of like COK or your indicator kriging to assist you with your domaining. But there comes a point where you need to understand your geology and mineralisation controls. If you don't understand those, I think the validity of your estimation is in question.
And do you think there's more of a lean towards not stepping through section by section? Historically, we used to go through each section and we do an interp based on each section and then we join it up. With the way that the software is progressing, are we leaning away from doing that? And do you think that's a problem?
I think that is a risk, that some of the software may solve the problem for you, may produce realistic domains, but if you're not looking at it on multiple sections and in level plans, then you might find, particularly with widely spaced data, you might find that your implicit models are doing some interesting things between sections. Mm. So it's important to understand what's going on between your known data points when using those techniques, and providing some input input to end up with something that's more geologically realistic. So in summary, domaining really is one of your most critical inputs into your resource estimation. If you don't understand your geology and mineralisation controls, there's only so far that you can take it.
So it's safe to say we should spend a significant time on domaining.
Yep. So another myth that we want to tackle, Susan, is that one bulk density sample or specific gravity sample per domain is enough for a resource estimation.
One density measurement per domain is not enough. You need to have a whole group of them. You need to keep taking density. You can't just take one and say, all right, I've covered this whole domain. You need to constantly be taking density.
So why are density or specific gravity values important?
Well, they're important because they relate to your tonnage, right? To get your tonnes, you take your volume times your specific gravity. So we report on tonnes and grade, and so we have thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of grade results. People come to us with 3 or 4 density results and say, there's your density. Mm. And the reality is it's just as important as your grade.
Yeah, so if your density value is too high, you can actually create metal, particularly in a gold.
Yeah, you're overstating your tonnes, which then overstates your metal.
Yeah. So how many density values do you need?
Well, as most resource geos would say, more the better.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have a limit. Like, if someone said, oh, man, I've taken thousands, I say that's amazing.
Yeah.
People say I've taken 3, I say that's inadequate. I mean, and this feeds into your classification as well, right? Like, you can't have so few amount of density measurements and have a high classification because you really don't know what your density is.
And where do you need to take them?
Basically from everywhere. Like, you need to take your different weathering profiles and your oxide, your fresh, transition. Like, for gold, is it within veins, quartz veins? Is it related to sulfides? You need to take as many as you can. So I wouldn't be just taking like one per hole. I would be taking many per hole. As many as you can, more the better. All right, Jane, so the last thing I want to talk about, and obviously we probably won't talk about it in detail because this is a hot topic that a lot of people are talking about, but one of the myths is, like, if a client comes to you and says, I've got 10 by 10 drilling, why don't I have measured classification? Why wouldn't they have measured classification, Jane?
Because, classification needs to encompass pretty much everything that we put into our resource model. So it's the deposit style and mineral type. It's your understanding of the interpretation and continuity. So many of the codes will reference grade and geological continuity.
So what you're saying is that we need to take a holistic view of it and incorporate a lot of different aspects into our classification.
Absolutely. Classification needs to encompass a lot of different areas of the resource estimation, from data quality and interpretation through to your estimation quality and also your drilling density.
Yeah. And also how well the estimates actually run, our kriging metrics in our models.
So drill hole spacing is an important input into your confidence classifications, but it can't be the only factor. It's really easy to measure your drill hole spacing, so I understand that's why people lean towards it, but it can't be a standalone criteria for classification.
That wraps up today's episode of Fresh Thinking. Jane, thank you very much for sharing your insight.
Thanks, Susan.
If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to our podcast on your preferred platform. Stay tuned for more insights from the mining industry.